even kidding me? Yeah, I know. Because, okay.
This is crazy.
Doshatsi, Nirishidaga, Arashiga Uyetets. Hello, I'm Jada. And other than being cooler than everybody else, we're going to talk about the benefits of relearning tribal languages, bringing tradition back into education, and how it benefits us as a community. The first thing that we should address is tradition being brought back through education, and a large factor in Indigenous life is trauma. And being able to reconnect to ancestors through tradition, song, dance, prayer, and language has been proven to help with confronting those traumas. So when you bring them back into education, it really starts at the base. According to Shreve in Healing the Indigenous Way, the corrosive effects of colonization have taken many forms. But for Indigenous people, connecting through culture, whatever that means to you, has been proven to be a powerful marikirigare, which is a key part or tool of that. So this approach may be new to many elders of the community, especially because of residential schools and their abuse they faced for practicing culture and speaking their language. And this kind of puts the responsibility into TCUs, which are tribal colleges or universities. But with the help of them, many practices are being reintroduced and taught to the new generation. At the end of the 20th century, the loss of traditional language and culture was a large concern in many tribal communities. Often the communities were counting down the last members of fluent speakers. And this is really scary because when you lose the language, you lose everything. And then because of TCU's vital role in revitalizing culture and language, they assumed this crucial role and added programs. So in Anton's article, To Know the Language, he states, language and culture are the lifeblood of the people. And he also states that it is the responsibility of TCUs to serve and create a safe space to bring back these native languages. Sorry. So according to Andrew Bigg, he is 59 and he had reconnected later in life. He says that I learned the language as an adult, and for the first time I finally understood what it meant to be Dakota and live the Dakota way of life. He says that a vital part of identity is language, and it includes philosophical knowledge. So if you have your language, you have all of the teachings, and without it, you are lost. You lose everything. You don't have an identity. So let's talk about some satisfactions and solutions. So in 1990, there was the Native American Language Act, and this was a significant step in revitalizing language and culture. This act basically acknowledged the importance of traditional languages and helped increase funding to go towards programs that will help Indigenous culture, and also helped funding with language classes. This act also helped languages that were on the verge of extinction, and it helped the people recognize the vital role of language and cultural identity. And then institutes such as Sinte Gleska University, they've expanded their degree programs as far as Native American studies go. They've added multiple Indigenous language programs, and they're actively employing instructors who are that's their first language. And they're also employing elders and people who are well-versed in traditional culture. And this offers job opportunities and helps revitalize local economies as well. These efforts have not only helped in preserving Indigenous languages, but they've also, like I said, created those large employment opportunities. And it's also really crucial to acknowledge the significance of these economic values as well, and the contributions that are a step towards preserving traditional culture. So now let's talk vision and what this really looks like. One thing that you guys are all working on right now is a coloring sheet. It's really, really simple, but it's also a really, really great way to introduce language, even for adults, but primarily for kids. This helps with their decoding because they are seeing the image as well as the language, and this also helps them recognize the letters of the alphabet and then patterns. So then on our sheets there, I think it's like 10 different languages. Hidatsa in the top right-hand corner, Madegadi is buffalo, or Madegadi Girabi is buffalo bull. There's also other languages, Tatanka's on there. Do you guys know any that aren't on there? No? That's chill too. But originally, there was like over 160 tribal languages before like colonization. And right now I think there's like 115. I'm still on your coloring sheet for like a second. I was wrong. It was over 500 languages before colonization, and 160 are still being spoken in the US today. And then another thing that this can look like is language apps on your phone or computer. I personally use Hidatsa Vocab Builder. It gives you like the words, the pronunciations, and then helps you with spelling. And then you like kind of play games to master it, and you have to go through all of like the words before they start with grammar and sentencing, so you have the background of pronunciation. And one thing that I really like about Hidatsa is like it's pretty much pronounced as it's spelled. Like once you know the pronunciation of the letters, you can pretty much read. So the Hidatsa language app helping with the pronunciation really, really helps when building like that vocabulary. I know there's also a Lakota language app, and there's also the Arikara language app. That one's not very user-friendly, but it's definitely a stepping stone. Another thing is like having programs. A lot of universities offer programs like at tribes. We have like beading nights or hand games, and those are a really great gateway to connect with the community, connect with elders, and keep those traditions going. There's also even like powwows, our international powwow. That's a huge community event, and that also involves elders and the community, and it also kind of spreads awareness. Then lastly, there are steps that we can take to change the current narrative of language extinction and generational trauma by incorporating these traditions into education. In 2017, there was a new Dakota program called Voices of Our Ancestors, and basically this program was to get students to learn Dakota as a second language, and at the end of the program, they would receive their language certification as well as their teaching license so that they could go on to also teach the language. And it also really shows the importance of preserving these languages and cultures. And this is a huge, like a crucial program towards like the end goal is being able to produce at least second language speakers. And this will help to have our culture thrive and remain a part of our collective history. So overall, it's really essential to recognize the benefits of relearning tribal languages and incorporating traditional practices into education. The trauma that Indigenous communities have faced can be addressed by connecting through culture. And then we can also ensure that Indigenous languages and cultures are continuing to be taught through programs like the Voices of Our Ancestors, and employing our elders and employing cultural experts. We can actively save and promote Native languages and cultures. And this is like helping better our futures and the next generation's futures. And it really changes the current narrative that we see today.
Well done.